Hello everyone, in this video I'm gonna show you how you can create an environment either for a animation or for a game. So the environment, it's gonna be this one here. It's a science fiction hangar. So as you can see here, let me take out the texture so you can take a look only at the geometry. It's not something super complicated. I have the walls here, they are modular, a lot of different modules connected to create the final hangar. I have some starfighters on the hangar, some crates, and I have my main character there that I put there just to have a reference for the scale of the place. So let me get the textures back, and let me restart a new project here, and I'm gonna show you some basic concepts you need to understand before we start modeling that hangar. So as usual, I'm gonna create a cube here, and I'm gonna position this here, and I'm gonna scale this in just one direction. So I'm gonna kind of have a corridor, but to see this corridor we need to get inside the box, the rectangle, right? So you see it's a corridor here. Notice we have some black faces because that's the back of the face, so we don't have the white Lambert, the gray Lambert. If we want to see inside this corridor, one way would be to go here to displayed, hide, and hide selection. So you would have that kind of grayed out and you would be able to see inside. But you wouldn't see the inside, like only on the top. So that's not very practical. So we need a way that, depending on the direction of the camera, we will always be able to see inside. So let me select all the faces, and I'm gonna go to mesh display, and I'm gonna reverse the normals. Now all the faces are inverted, and you're gonna notice that, well, why is that not working? Okay, so sorry, well, sometimes when you reverse the normal, the selection tool goes a little bit crazy. But you see everything is black because that's like the back of the faces. We reversed the normals, so we are only seeing the back, and we're not seeing that light gray Lambert material that you would normally see if we're seeing like the front of the face. So let's go here in the view, in shading, and let's click back face culling, and looks what is gonna happen. Boom. Looks how interesting this is. So now we can see inside the corridor, and we actually see the internal face, the actual front faces that are facing inside with the light gray material, but we don't see any of the faces that are outward. Why is that? Because when you turn on back face culling, the back face of any polygon is going to be transparent. So that's a very good way for you to be modeling something, and you're able to check from the outside. But if you're inside the corridor, you're going to see the four walls. Nothing's going to look different. But as soon as you get out, the faces facing in your direction are going to be transparent. And now I'm going to create some extra cuts here, and using this back face culling view, I'm going to start expanding my level here. So I have another corridor here, and I could have a third corridor here. So I have something that could be a little level for it, I don't know, first person shooter or something. This works pretty well, but it's not gonna be the most efficient way of creating, especially a game level, because you would need a very big texture to cover the whole level and have a good proper resolution when the player is close to that wall. So the alternative, it's to create just a little module and use that to create a level. And that's what I'm gonna do here. So I have this cube here, and let me delete the faces on the side here. And sorry, I delete, I think, more than I should. Okay, just the side, and I'm gonna delete this. Now I'm gonna select the faces and I'm gonna reverse them. And because we have back face culling, we don't see most of the outside faces are transparent. And now I'm gonna duplicate this, shift, then move in the object mode, so we duplicate this. And as I duplicated this little mode, I'm creating a whole new corridor. So this new corridor is very similar to the corridor that I had here. The difference is this is made of separate modules. So now it's much more efficient for me to create texture. So each one of those modules could have a 4K texture, and I would have a lot of detail. If I would try to apply a 4K texture in this one here, even a 8K texture, which is 4 times bigger, I wouldn't have enough information and enough details in the equivalent space of the module. So that would not be the best way of going about. So we're going to be creating the hanger with 4 basic modules that we're going to repeat, so we can have much higher resolution textures for the environment. So I have a new project here with my character as a reference, and then I'm going to create a cube. Let's turn off the textures, and I'm going to scale this cube up. And again, I have my character there just as a reference of the scale. So let's position this, position the pivot down, so it's on the floor level, and I'm going to scale this up, just eyeballing the size I want for the hanger. And I'm going to copy these 4 times, because the hanger is going to be made of 4 different modules. And I'm gonna delete the fronts here, like especially in the middle one. So we're gonna have 2 middle modules that are gonna be repeated in different numbers, and then we're gonna have a back of the hanger and then a front of the hanger. And let me select this and invert the normals. And now let's isolate this first one. This is going to be one of the middle modules here. So I'm just going to select those walls on the side, and I'm going to extrude with an offset, and I'm going to extrude again, and now another offset here, and control, so I can fine tune the offset, another offset, and I'm gonna extrude inside to create kind of this hole here. And now I'm gonna create the floor. We're gonna connect those lines here, and I want more segments. I want 3 segments, and I'm gonna do the same on the top. No, yeah, top, just 2 segments. And back to the floor, I'm gonna select all those edges here. I'm gonna connect again. 3 is fine, and then I'm gonna select all those faces, and I'm gonna extrude with offset and the keep faces together off, and I'm gonna move that down. So I'm kind of creating a metal grid. Now I'm gonna extrude this down and offset, and let's connect this here. 2 connections is good, and I'm gonna extrude this and offset, just creating some more interesting shapes. Extrude with offset here, and now I'm gonna extrude again up to create a little hole there. So I imagine the top hole where we would have the light of the hanger. So let's see again the rest of the modules, and I'm gonna create something very similar to what I created, but there's gonna be a difference on the wall. The side wall, we're gonna have a door, so it's gonna be a little bit thicker. That's why I'm moving. And now I'm gonna create one connection here. I'm just gonna extrude with an offset here. And let's move this down a little bit because it's a door. It's like a metal door. And extrude again down, so create that hole. And then you extrude again with an offset and the thickness at the same time. So you get this interesting shape here. Now I can select those edges. Let me connect this like 3 times, and I'm gonna do the same on the other side. Connect once, I'm gonna do the other side too. And let's select both sides here and extrude. So a little window on the door. And let me check here the wireframe. Just wanna move that part to be aligned with the other module, but it's gonna be a little bit different. And so let's go this down. So scale. No, yeah, I think do pretty much the same thing I did before. Just so it's similar to the first module, but it's only half of the wall here, the little metal detail. And again, those would be inside that the face would be like a light. And let's select that face here, and let's offset and then extrude again. So similar to what we did before. Let's extrude inner and offset and go up a little bit, and I think that's good. It gives a little bit of variety. The floor, it's not the same. So now let's hide this and focus only on the modules in comparison to the other ones. I just hid the background here. So let's see. Let's move this, and so I'm just thinking maybe instead of starting from the scratch, maybe I'm able to just get one of those modules and create the entrance. So that's what I'm doing. I extrude a little bit, so that's looking better. So I've just deleted what would be the front, and I'm gonna use this duplicate here. So I extrude a little bit. I'm moving like some parts, and notice I'm extruding edges here. I'm not extruding faces in this case. So I'm just offsetting a little bit, seeing what works or not. So maybe I'm gonna scale this and this up, and another scale. I'm gonna some connections here so I can scale this out so it looks a little bit more interesting here on the corners. So that's typical nice kind of Star Wars entrance in the hangar. And let me move this down here because that's very close to the floor, right? So this, I think I have some double face in there or not, like have to check that. No, so move that down. And what else I could do here? I could select all those points and move that up. And inside looking good. And I'm gonna get all those faces here, and let me extrude that with offset, and then I'm extrude that again just to create some extra detail. Notice when I'm looking out from the outside, everything is black, right? That's because I don't have back face culling on. You can always turn on back face culling if you don't wanna your face blocked by the black faces. But as we are still modeling, it's good to see the whole model. So I just created some extra details on the side there, and again, every time you have like this hole on the wall, I'm imagining we would have some light coming out of that. So I'm just writing on the outline the name of each module, and let's duplicate one of those to create the back entrance. And I deleted what I originally thought I would use as the back door. So similarly, I'm gonna extrude some of the faces here. Now I'm just gonna fill the hole so I have more stuff to work with. I can go here and extrude with an offset and move that down and then back. And now I'm gonna create some connections here. So just trying to think what would look good here. Maybe I could connect those so I can create some basic geometries, so I can extrude like two main doors, metal doors that are like the entrance to the hangar, like not from the outside of the ship, but people who are inside the ship, the spaceship. So I'm gonna extruding with the offset here, and faces, keep faces off. So we're gonna have two big doors here. So I extrude inside and I extrude with offset again, and I move this, looking good. Now I want to create some nice science fiction detail for the side wall here. So, and on the diagonal parts, I'm gonna extrude, and you see it's very easy to create a lot of nice details just extruding, offset, moving up, moving down, and you quickly can create holes, etc. And I'm gonna select those edges here. I'm gonna connect them 3 times, and I'm gonna select all of those, and let extrude with offset and with a little bit of thickness, and then in the middle here just one big one with a little hole. Let's connect the edges on the door and connect here in the opposite direction. So I have those two or maybe faces, and I can create like this little window here. I'm using like a inverted L shape just so it looks a little bit more interesting. So instead of a window, I just created like some extra detail, like metal detail. It doesn't make much sense. Just I wanted this to look cool. So I think I have the basic shape of what I needed here. So let's create this new cube here. And what I'm gonna create is, it's a crate. That's a classic since the 90s, early 2000s, when you wanna create extra detail in your science fiction level in a game, you put a lot of crates, right? So let's create a science fiction crate here. It's just a cube with some bevels around, and I'm gonna create some extra cuts here. So across this science fiction crate, I'm gonna select all those edges, I'm gonna connect, and I created this interesting shape in the corners here. And I'm gonna do this in every corner of this crate. And so select those here, select those here, and connect this, And finally the last one. Okay, so I have this very interesting shape, and now I can create more details here. So in the face mode, so let me isolate this because I was having some problems selecting the faces. So I'm selecting those circular areas here on the center, and I'm gonna extrude with an offset, and then I'm gonna circularize. And now I'm gonna select that interesting shape I created in the corners. So I'm gonna select all the corners, so on the top and now on the bottom. And let's use the paint selection tool, and just selecting everything, and also the middle part. And now I can just extrude that. Actually, I didn't like the middle one, so I'm gonna extrude only the corners. So let's extrude this. Okay, that looks interesting. And now let's do the opposite direction for the circle in the middle. So I'm gonna extrude this and offset a little bit. And actually I'm gonna select this and this. So I'm basically selecting all the faces around the main circle, and I'm extruding with an offset again. And oops, so let's extrude again here, and now a little offset. Okay, now it looks very interesting. That's a very sci-fi looking crate. And what else could we create here? Let's save this, and now let's create a spaceship, right? Because if that's a science fiction hangar, we need to have some spaceships that are parked here. So I'm gonna create a simple starfighter, just a little one-person starfighter. What I have in mind here is just to create something very quickly. Let's create like a cross between a Viper from Battlestar Galactica and a X-Wing from Star Wars. I'm gonna do something very simple in terms of the shape. I'm not gonna be doing something super complicated. So I'm just like moving some points here to create like the base of the fighter, like with a canopy. It's gonna be like the main part of the fuselage. I think you can kind of guess where the canopy, where the pilot would be. And here is gonna be like the nose, the front of the starfighter. Let me move some points here. So again, very simple shape, just starting with a cube and blocking some interesting shapes here. So let's move this edge here, and let's get this, and we're gonna extrude that out and offset. This is gonna be like the exhaust port part of the fighter, and out of this we could extrude the wings. So we're gonna extrude it with an offset, and then we're gonna extrude out. Then we can move this down, and we have this inclined wing here. Let's just move a little bit here, and looking good so far. Let's reposition this, and let me extrude this, scale this up with the offset, and I'm gonna scale this a little bit more, reposition here, and now I'm gonna extrude again, and looking good, and extrude one more time with an offset. Now that I have this, I can just move some points here to make this a little bit more interesting. And I want a third wing here on the top. As I said, this is gonna be like a mix between an X-wing from Star Wars, but also as a Viper from Battlestar Galactica. The Vipers had this three-wing pattern, which I find really interesting. So I'm just kind of improvising something that has a similar structure, even though it looks very different. So just very similar, just extruding here and using the offset, moving some parts and playing with extrude just to create some basic shapes here. I didn't like that one. I redid that part. So let's create a hole here and let's move that down, that back I mean. And we're gonna do the same in this part here and the same in the top wing. So those are gonna be like the three main thrusters of the space fighter. So let's focus on the cockpit. So we need to extrude with an offset, and then we're gonna extrude out like the metal bars of the cockpit. So that's where the pilot will be. And let's create some extra details here. So let's connect those edges. And this, as I said, is going to be like the exhaust port of this space fighter. So I'm going to get this edge and I'm going to slide this down and I'm going to slide this to the other side. I'm going to get some of those moved back I mean, and now just tree and extrude back. So just a little bit more detail. What else could I create here? I can connect those here, and I'm gonna connect this, and this finally I'm gonna connect here, and no, actually more like this. Yeah, and I can move this down, and now I can move this out, so it looks a little bit less blocky, just a little bit. Here I'm gonna extrude with an offset, and I'm gonna extrude out, offset again, just creating like a plate armor. Now extrude, offset again, extrude inside, more interesting detail here, and what else? And again, this is a very low poly spaceship. It won't look good until we get the texture. It's gonna look way more interesting when we send this to Substance Painter, but it's gonna give a more interesting look to the environment. So I create more plate armor there, and gonna do the same here. Actually I'm gonna do like inside extrude, so just a little bit more detail. I have to fix some of the points here. I'm using the target weld tool, and let's see. So far so good. I think that's what we needed so far. The terms of scale, I think it's good. That's what the spaceship would look like in comparison to the character. But then I realized the hangar, it is not big enough. The hangar, it was kind of small. So I'm scaling the Starfighter down a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit smaller. But then as you notice, I made the hangar a little bit bigger. And now I have to select each one of those, and I have to create the UVs before I can paint anything here. So I'm not gonna bother creating manually the UVs. I'm just using the automatic function in each one of them. The reason being, when you're working with hard surface stuff, it makes no sense to manually cut. Most of the time, the automatic version will be good enough. Sometimes you need to cut one or two pieces if you know you're gonna manually paint and you want to be more sure which part of the model is, but most of the time the automatic is good. So now we're gonna be creating the material IDs here, just like we created for the characters. So same principle, a simple Lambert. So we create one Lambert for each one of those, no color, and then incandescence is gonna be a white color, and that's what you're gonna have in each one of those material ID shaders. So again, color is gonna be totally black, and then incandescence channel is gonna be white. And we're gonna do this for each element we have here in our hanger. So I'm saving this, and let's go to render, 3D paint tool, and let's create a 4K file, and in the incandescent channel. So let's see if that's working. Fluid paint, yes, it's working. So I fluid paint with a gray, so maybe a lighter gray. That looks good. Now so let's select some colors. So let's select those and those. I think those here, the ones I'm selecting, they will be like a blue metal. Or maybe inside the grid, maybe they're gonna be blue too. So I'm gonna select this blue here and flood the paint, and a little bit, I want a darker tone here. Remember the colors, it could be any color. This is just to identify the material inside Substance Painter, but it's good to use the colors that are kind of what you imagine you're going to be using on Substance Painter. So you have a flat color approximation. So you notice I did a yellow ID there. That's because this is going to be maybe light. I'm still thinking about it. So let's just create a new material, starting painting. Same principle. First, gonna have the gray color, and now we're gonna have the blue metal. The blue metal is gonna be on top on this little detail here on the wall, as well as the whole door. The whole door is gonna be yellow. And then this metal plate on the floor. So let's go here and select the dark blue, fluid paint. Now so let's select those little parts here, and let's, no, sorry, I wanna put a yellow there. So let's yellow, no red. No, it's gonna be yellow again. So it's gonna be the same of the other one. Okay, same thing, create a texture again, incandescence channel, starting fluting with the gray color, same process, and then I'm gonna apply the blue metal details on the walls, inside the grid, the floor grid. And here on those details here, I think all those like little protuberances on the floor, I think they're gonna be blue. So I'm gonna select them now on the top. And the whole door, the big door to enter the hanger, it's gonna be blue too. So here on the top, that's gonna be blue metal, and we need to select more, and then let's fluid with the blue one. Now we just need to apply the yellow details. So those here, this part of the door. I think we're good. Just apply the yellow, and I think I missed. Okay. So far so good, I think. Let's go to the last one, creating the texture again, incandescence channel. Same principle, and I know that gets a little bit repetitive, but you have to do that. Sometimes I like to skip things, but because that's the the first environment tutorial I'm doing, I think it's good to show everything I'm doing the first time, even if it is a little bit repetitive, because when you're doing 3D, you have to kind of accept a certain level of boredom. There are some repetitive tasks that you need to do. It used to be much worse. Now we have a lot of parametric things, and we need artificial intelligence. We're gonna get even more faster stuff, but a lot of the things we do in 3D are still very manually consumes a lot of time. So this part, blue metal, now I'm gonna apply the yellow part here. And again, same principle. So you see there's a logic between the modules, like the not just the form, but the way I'm applying the materials. And we still have 2 models to go, so let's create another texture here. And so okay, so I'm gonna create first of the crate. So 4K texture, incandescence channel, same thing as usual. Lambert and crate, the name of the material is crate. Incandescence, totally white, assign this, and we're gonna create another one for the spaceship. Another Lambert is gonna be Starfighter. Incandescence is white, and again, same principle here. So selecting this and applying this material. Let's assign a texture, 4K texture, basic gray material. Let's select the corners, have those nice shapes on the corners. I think I'm gonna paint those as blue metal. Let's see how that goes. And also this detail here is also gonna be of the same color. And we still have, so blue metal. Let's also wait, what happened here? Okay, now it's correct. So let's select here on the top. There's a mistake, I have to paint the extra blue stuff there, but so first let's do the yellow, and I'll correct the blue parts that I missed. So let's flood this with the blue color, and now we have our crate. And finally, let's finish our Starfighter. So same principle, incandescence channel, 4K texture, start with the gray color, and then we're gonna do little details here. So this here, the cockpit frame is really important. That's where your eyes are gonna be looking when you check the Starfighter. So this one's gonna be a darker gray, different gray than the gray we're using for the fuselage. So the glass of the cockpit probably are gonna be yellow too. So then we need to select any part that I think we're gonna be using a blue metal. So the nose, definitely the nose, the side thrusters, and probably the top thruster too. So I'm just selecting this and this and this. Let's check here the top thruster. So I just isolated some of the geometry here, so I can focus only on the Starfighter. So selecting all of that and blue, and oh, I forgot some important faces here. Let's just select this, and let's flood the paint again. And the cockpit should not be blue, the cockpit should be yellow. And let's select some of those inside plates that we have here in the exhaust port, and let's put something darker there. We have something weird going on there, so let's flood the color and select this. We need the black here. Why am I getting this? I think we have some kind of bug going on there. Let's keep selecting everything that's gonna be blue on the model. Any of the extra armor that I have here. Oh, I just noticed I have a very bad mix up of the vertices. I'm gonna have to fix this using the target weld. So I just have to move those points until we correct this and move this back here. So apparently when I used the target, I almost broke the other side, but I just corrected that. So let's select those armor plates and let's use a blue color. And any inside like extrusion, we're gonna put a yellow, like a dark yellow. So again, this is not gonna be like flat color. This is just to identify the materials, and we're gonna use more realistic materials from Substance Painter. So that's it. We have all the modules and all the modules we need to send to Substance Painter. I'm gonna save this, export as FBX.